Peace and love to the family. It's Corbin reporting live 2021. Family, this is the Darius Corbin Presents channel, the home of the esoteric, the hidden knowledge, home of the metaphysics, the spiritual science. I thank you, as always, for watching. Now, previously on the Corbin channel, the Darius Corbin channel, before the Age of Aquarius video, I promised my elite enlightened ones that we will get to the story in the Gnostic Nag Hammadi scripture, which was discovered in 1945. Let me stress this out. Which was discovered, these scrolls, which was translated, were discovered in 1945. So in this book, I promised my elite enlightened ones that I would one day read this chapter called On the Origin of the World. For my Christians and even my non-Christians, you have been told the story of Genesis. You know the story of Genesis. And for those who may not know the story of Genesis or the beginning chapter of Genesis, may I please read it. And once again, this is the creation of heaven and earth, according to the first book of Moses. And this is the King James Version. And I'm just going to read a quick briefing of it. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, from reading that, you were, woo! God did a lot. Busy being he was. Busy creator he was. Now, like I previously stated, family, not too long ago, these are the lost gospels that some of your pastors and your preachers told you about, okay? You do know that there are lost teachings of your work. Some that you can pick up like this and read, and some you got to go a little deeper, and some we may never know. But this one was discovered in 1945. But I want you to peep game on something right quick. Because a lot of people denounce something, because it's put in a book, but yet the Bible was made and put in a book. This was discovered in 1945, what I'm about to read to you, which is the true beginning of creation. If these scrolls, which was translated, were discovered in 1945, I want you to think about that year. It's not too long ago. Think about Big Mama and think about Big Papa. Think about our ancestors who were already in the Christian faith in 1945, who wasn't privileged to the Gnostic text. Because back then, the only ones that really had this were people back in Egypt and European discoverers or Egyptologists, whatever you want to call them. So in 1945, our big mamas and big pops, our ancestors, all they had was the Holy Ghost, the Bible, the Word, King James Version. Then in 1945, the truth started coming out. But guess what, family? It didn't matter at that time because for the ones who were supposed to be given what they were given, they were already brainwashed, already religiously mind controlled, already given a doctrine. So what I'm going to do, and what I've been doing for a few years now on the Darius Corbin channel, And I want to break down and give you another version, the correct version of the creation of not only humans, but the God that you go church and praise to. Because he is not the one and only Savior in this book, which I advise all of you to. There's certain chapters on there, like on the origin of the world, that we will be reading this evening that you can PDF. The nature of the rulers. Another one that you can PDF. If you're a scholar and you claim to be on top of your knowledge, you need to be knowing this in the age of 2021, in the age of the Aquarius. So, like I said, in 1945, Big Mama them already was given the fact in the churches that there was only one supreme being, God, nothing above him. But here we will hear characters like Sophia the Wisdom, the Mother, the divine feminine that created the God that you go church and praise to. Snapple facts. So I don't want to waste too much time. I just want to go in. Because I promised my elite light ones a while back that I would read this. So, I never break a promise. You know the rest. Let's go in. And we're going to start with the narration origin of Sophia and the powers of the world. Remember what we just read? In the beginning, God created heavens and earth. No. This is the beginning. I want you to listen with open ears and, even more importantly, an open heart. Tomorrow is Sunday. You probably won't be in church anyway, so get this work. We're going in. This is on the origin of the world as told by the early Christians, aka the Gnostics. Let's go. After the world of the immortals was brought to completion out of the infinite, a being with the likeness called Sophia flowed from Pistis. And if you got a pen, which you should, that's spelled Pistis. Pistis is very important. It means wisdom. Like I told you before, the divine feminine was in the Bible, but they devalue her worth to just wisdom instead of giving you the whole truth. But let's keep on going. After the world of the immortals was brought to completion out of the infinite, a being with the likeness called Sophia flowed from Pistis. This being expressed its wish that it come to resemble the first light, which we now know is the pleroma. And at once it wished appeared as a heavenly likeness with an incomprehensible greatness. This being came to be between the immortals and what came after them. Like what is above, and Sophia served as a veil separating humanity from the things above. Now let me read that one more time. After the world of the immortals was brought to the completion out of the infinite, a being with a likeness called Sophia flowed from Pistis. This being expressed its wish that it come to resemble the first light, and at once it wished appeared as a heavenly likeness with an incomprehensible greatness. This being came to be between the immortals and what came after them, like what is above, and Sophia served as a veil separating humanity from the things above. The eon or aeon of truth has no shadow within it, because infinite light shines everywhere within it. There is a shadow, however, outside of it, and the shadow has been called darkness. From the shadow appeared a power set over the darkness, and the powers that came afterward called the shadow limitless chaos. From it every sort of deity emerged, one after another, along with the whole world. So the shadow came after 99 something that existed in the beginning, and then it became visible. The abyss also came from Pistis, whom we have mentioned. The shadow sensed that there was one stronger than it. Listen. The shadow sensed that there was one stronger than it. It was jealous. And when it became pregnant, listen, you are now hearing about the birth of the God you go church and praise to. The shadow sensed that there was one stronger than it. It was jealous, and when it became pregnant by itself, all of a sudden it gave birth to envy. Since then, the principle of envy has appeared in all of the aeons and their worlds. But envy turned out to be an aborted fetus. Listen. Without any spirit in it. And it came into being as a shadow in an expanse of watery substance. Bitter wrath came into being from the shadow and was cast into a region of chaos. Since that day, watery substance has been visible. What lurked in the shadow flowed out and appeared in chaos, just as all the afterbirth of a woman who gives birth to a baby flows out. So also the matter that came into being from the shadow was cast out. Matter did not come out of chaos. It was in chaos, in a region of chaos. Now, for those who have not clearly grasped what I am saying, I have brought you the divine feminine, Sophia. Sophia's attraction to be in the likeness of the light she first seen, which is the pleroma. Out of that likeness that she tried to resemble and the ignorance of it, she became pregnant with jealousy. And envy was birth. Out of that birth became the God that we praise in church nowadays. Let's keep going. After these things happened, Pistis came and appeared over chaotic matter, which had expelled like an aborted fetus, without any spirit in it. I just read that. For chaos is all limitless darkness and unfathomable water. When Pistis saw what came into being from her deficiency, she was disturbed, and her disturbance appeared as something frightful, and it fled to her in the chaos. She turned to it and blew into his face in the abyss, below all the heavens. When Princess Sophia wanted to cause this thing with no spirit to be made into likeness of the divine and rule over matter and all its powers, for the first time an archon appeared, out of the water, lion-like in appearance and androgynous with great authority in himself, but ignorant of where he came from. But ignorant of where he came from. See, right now, I just want you to keep on listening and just think about some of the things that God in the Bible, Christian Bible, what he said. For I am a jealous God, put no God before me. See, you're getting the origin of why he said that. I'm going to read once again. When Pistis Sophia wanted to cause this thing with no spirit to be made into a likeness of the divine and rule over matter and all its powers, for the first time an archon appeared, and that's spelled Archon. You need to know that word. An archon appeared out of the waters, lion-like in appearance, androgynous with great authority in himself, but ignorant of where he came from. Let's continue. When Pistis Sophia saw him moving in the depths of the water, she said to him, and I quote, "Young man, move over here," which is the meaning of Yaldabaoth. You call him God. Some call him Jehovah. Some call him Yahweh. They call him Yaldabaoth, and that name is spelled Yaldabaoth. Make sure you write that down. Since then, the facility of speech has come into expression, and the facility of speech pertains to the gods, angels, and people. The gods, angels, and people have brought to completion what has come into being by means of the word. The ruler Yadabroth is ignorant of the power of pistis. Let me say it again slowly. The ruler Yadabroth is ignorant of the power of pistis. The God that you go to church and praise to is ignorant of the power of his mother. For he thought the whole time that there was nothing but him. The whole time, the mother, being invisible to him, was there the whole time, putting in the work. The ruler Yadabroth is ignorant of the power of pistis. He did not see her face, but in the water he saw the likeness that spoke to him, and from the voice he called himself Yadabroth. Those who are perfect call him Ariel, which is Ariael, because he is like a lion. After Yadabroth assumed authority over matter, Pistis Sophia withdrew up to her light. That means after God claimed who he was, she went back up there. She wanted him to have that authority. That wasn't the question. When the ruler saw his greatness, he saw only himself. Listen. When the ruler saw his greatness, he saw only himself and nothing else except water and darkness. He thought that only he existed. His thought was completed by means of the word, and it appeared as a spirit moving to and fro over the waters. When the spirit appeared, the ruler separated the watery substance to one region and the dry substance to another region. From matter, the ruler created for himself a dwelling place and called it heaven. And from matter, he created a footstool and called it earth. Let me read that again. From matter, the ruler created for himself a dwelling place and called it heaven. And from matter, he created a footstool for himself. That sounds low. And called it earth. After this, the ruler had a thought in accordance with his nature, and he created an androgynous. Now, for those who don't know, androgynous means both male and female parts, or both male and female energy, let's use that. He created an androgynous being by means of the word. He opened his mouth and cooed to him. The child opened his eyes and saw his father, and he said to him, E, and I quote, E. So his father called him Yayo, or Io, spelled Y-A-O. The ruler created a second son and cooed to him. The child opened his eyes and said to his father, E-H, E. So his father called him Eloah, E-L-O-A-I. The ruler created a third son and cooed to him. The child opened his eyes and said to his father, As. So his father called him Astaphios, and that's spelled A-S-T-A-P-H-A-O-S. These are the three sons of the Father. And here you talking about Christ is the Father. Christ is the Son of God. No. See, Christ's role, once you start reading the Gnostic text, Christ's role is a lot more powerful than God. Even when you continue to read the Gnostics and the Lost Gospels, or when Christ came back to the disciples, he even let his disciples know that he has seen the so-called God, all-powerful God, and said, and I'm paraphrasing, he's all right, but he's not real. He's ignorant. He's not the real deal. There's one higher than that God. And once you go deep into the work, you will actually see that, and Gnostics and a lot of other belief systems and religions even, that Sophia was equal, almost a bride to Christ. So let's continue going on. And they talk about 7 androgynous beings appeared in chaos, and they have masculine names and feminine names. I'm not going to go into that because right now I'm just going for the shock value, and that's 20 minutes. I only got 28 minutes, so I'm gonna fast forward. I think you guys kind of got to. I want to get into the good stuff, the even greater stuff. Let's go into the creation of humankind, and once again, you can PDF some of these. And I'm fast forwarding a lot because I want to get right straight to it. So if it sounds like it's off, I'm trying to fill in the blanks. Before Adam of light made his return, the authorities saw him in chaos. They laughed at the chief creator. Now, mind you, they called the Yalobroth the chief creator because the same God you go to church, he had assistants, he had archons, he had what they call in this book the rulers who ruled alongside of God. He wasn't the only God, but let's keep on going. Before Adam of light made his return, the authorities saw him in chaos. They laughed at the chief creator because he lied when he said, and I quote, "I am God. No one exists before me." Hold up. Before I even go back to that, I want to let's go back to what Yaldabaoth boasts that he is God. I don't want to miss this one. After the heavens, their powers and their entire government was established, the chief creator exalted himself, and he was glorified by the whole army of angels. All the gods and their angels praised and glorified him. He was delighted. He boasted over and over again and said to them, "I don't need anything." And I quote, end quote. He said, "I am God, and there is no other God but me." Sounds familiar. When he said this, he sinned against all the immortals who speak forth, and they watched him carefully. When Pistis saw this, when the mother saw the impunity of the supreme ruler, she became angry. Without being seen, she said, "You are wrong, Samuel," which means blind God. An enlightened, immortal human exists before you and will appear within the forms you have shaped. The human will trample upon you as potter's clay is trampled, and you will descend with those who are yours to your mother, the abyss. And when your work comes to an end, all the deficiencies that appeared from the truth will be dissolved. It will cease to be, and it will be like what never was. After Pistis said this, she revealed the likeness of her greatness in the waters, and then she withdrew up to light. Now, question before I go back to where I was going. Who do you think that immortal human, the Mother Sophia, the wisdom, was talking about? You guessed it. Christ. Christ. God was thinking he was the only one. But then the mother said, hold up. Now there's another, listen, there's a greater immortal who's greater than you, who's going to take shape in the creations that you created. And he will be more powerful than you are. Fall back. And she was talking about Christ. Now let's go to where I was trying to go. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. Back to the creation of humankind. Before Adam of light made his return, the authorities, which, if you read, they are the rulers alongside of God, the authorities saw him in chaos. They laughed at God, guys. They laughed at the chief creator because he lied when he said, "I am God, and no one exists before me." When they came to the chief creator, they said, Is this the being not the God who ruined our work?" He answered and said, "Yes." And the authorities said, "If you do not want him to be able to ruin our work, come, let's create a human being out of earth in the image of our body and with a likeness to the being to serve us." So once again, let's go back to what Genesis said. In the King James Version, it says, God created heaven and earth. But remember, the Hebrew Bible is older. So the Hebrew Bible says, the Elohim said, let's. And once you look up the word Elohim, Elohihem, I do believe, the Elohim can be singular or plural. But in this case, it's plural, meaning more than one. So let's read that again. When they came to the chief creator, they said, is this being not the God who ruined our work? God answered, yes. If you do not, then the authorities said, if you do not want him to be able to ruin our work, come, let's create a human being out of earth in the image of our body with a likeness to this being to serve us, so that when this being sees his likeness, he may fall in love with it. Then he will no longer ruin our work, and we shall make the children of the light our slaves for the entire age. Damn. All this happened in accordance with Platistus' forethought, so that humanity might appear in the likeness and condemn the authorities because of their modeled bodies. For their modeled bodies contain the light. The authorities received knowledge they needed to create humanity. Sophia Zoe, who is with Sabbath, anticipated them. She laughed at their decision because they are blind and they created humanity in ignorance and against their own interest. They did not know what they were doing. Gosh. So she anticipated them. So she anticipated them. She created her own human being first so that he might tell the model bodies of the authorities how to despise them and how to escape them. The birth of the instructor happened like this. When Sophia let a drop of light fall, it landed on the water, and at once there appeared an androgynous human being. Sophia first made the drop into the form of a female body, and then she took the body and gave it a shape like the mother who had appeared. She finished it in 12 months. An androgynous human being was born, whom the Greeks call hermaphrodite. The Hebrews call the child's mother Eve of life, which means the female instructor of life, and the child born to her is Lord. Later, the authorities called the children the beast so that it might lead their model bodies astray. The meaning of the beast is the instructor, for it turned out to be the wisest of all creations. And I hope I got enough time to read this. Eve is the first virgin, and she gave birth to her first child without a man. She was her own physician. For this reason, she is said to have declared, and this is coming from Eve, and I'm going to end with this. I am part of my mother, and I am the mother. I am the wife. I am the virgin. I am pregnant. I am the physician. I am the comforter of birth pains. My husband produced me, and I am his mother, and he is my father and Lord. He is my strength. He speaks of what he wants reasonably. I am becoming, but I have given birth to a lordly person. Family, I thank you for watching, and from here on out, the Darius Corbin channel is going galactic. As always, believe in yourself and know that you are greater. I'll see you in the future. Peace.